Howdy, howdy, fellow football fans, and welcome back for another edition of the Far Out Football Podcast, brought to you by PTE Creative, and a happy Halloween to everyone out there. This is the Halloween edition of the show. Today, quick deep dive. Our game is going to be masks, where we're going to be looking at something that really isn't what it seems. Who's wearing a mask in the NFL, if you will. Plus, our Week 9 game picks, as we're heading towards halfway through the season point. We're getting towards that trade deadline next week, and it's a heck of a lot of fun to get there. So without further ado, let's play masks. So, with masks, the idea behind this little exercise, this game, if you will, is looking at teams, individuals, whatever the case may be, that aren't really what they seem, or the evidence doesn't point to them being exactly what they're being marketed as, or what they appear to. That's the whole point. As we go into Halloween, obviously it's trick-or-treating season. You put on the mask to be something that's your classic Halloween, as everybody knows. So, I'm going to highlight two teams and one player in this exercise. And we're going to start with the Buffalo Bills. Now, last week, they utterly destroyed the Seattle Seahawks, 31-10 with the final score. The addition of Amari Cooper has been an absolute boon to them, as it's really helped their offense develop a little bit more passing attack, as they have a more dynamic playmaker than what they had before to help Josh Allen. And we didn't see the traditional Josh Allen up-down. We saw up, and it kind of stayed up last week. However, when we're looking at the Bills, we're seeing a team that's 6-2. Now, that would posit to think this is a superpower in the AFC. Well, their record doesn't showcase that as well as it doesn't really showcase that. They have 6 wins. That is correct. However, they've only played 2 teams with a completely winning record, and they've lost to both of them. And handedly in some way, shape, or form, may I add. Their 6 wins have come across teams with a 500 or losing record, 4 of which are completely losing records. Now, this is where we go to it. Winning teams that they've played the Houston Texans, they played the Baltimore Ravens. They were utterly destroyed and were embarrassed against Baltimore 35-10. Straight up. Now, I would argue Baltimore is a far more talented team, and it showed. And it really showcased how Buffalo cannot defend the run and is not great against the pass. Houston, on the other hand, they only lost 23-20. But Josh Allen also had his absolute worst day passing, and that was before the smelling salts incident that everyone was considering, in which, again, ridiculing the NFL's concussion policy, as no one knew that you could still use smelling salts, apparently, to get Josh Allen or any player back into the game that looked like it had been clearly concussed. But they're only 2 teams that they've played with a true winning record. They've lost again. And doesn't showcase great talent. It showcases a team that continues the trend of the Buffalo Bills, where they feast upon the weak and they struggle against the strong. That's been their history since Sean McDermott has come into power there as their head coach. Since Josh Allen has really become a player, they always take care of the minnows, but when the bigger fish are in the pond, they can't pull them out. Their 6 wins have come across their 2 best: Arizona, which they absolutely should have lost that game. Big comeback victory with a lot of rushing touchdowns. Granted, it was week 1. And this last week, which was Seattle. So, bookends of their seasons, they've had wins against teams that are 4-4 that are talented and frisky. So, those I'm not going to inherently say oh, that's ridiculous. However, we are seeing Seattle, which is going to be another topic of discussion further into the also struggling mightily in the last 5 weeks. And Arizona has been shown to be extremely spotty. So they beat Arizona in a week that Arizona was pretty good. However, they've beaten a Miami team, both with and without Tua, because Tua got knocked out in that game. Jacksonville, the New York Jets, and the Tennessee Titans. Their combined record of the wins of the teams they've played is 15-31. Which means 2 out of every 3 games, those teams lose. And it's only really buoyed by 2 4-4 teams. So 2 teams in the middle, 4-4. Otherwise, it's 2 wins, 2 wins, 2 wins, and 1 win. That's it. That's the only competition they've really truly played. Now, with the addition of Maury Cooper, they've shown a lot more offensive capability. But as of right now, it's showing once again that Buffalo is a mask wearer. They're a mask wearing team in which not the juggernaut that people think they are. Now, granted, I know in the show I've said Buffalo's playing some of the best football that we saw, and that was earlier throughout weeks 1, 2, and 3. However, once they met that Baltimore buzzsaw, it was truly showcased that Buffalo isn't the team of strength that people believe it is. It's yet again the Josh Allen save us team, and that's not a team that can win the Super Bowl. But when a team is masquerading as a team that's trying to win the Super Bowl, they're a mask wearer. Why I'd say Buffalo. For our second mask wearer, we're going to go to another team that I just spoke about, the Seattle Seahawks. In their last 5 games, they are 1-4. Now, here's a weird tale. Are they a mask wearer, or are they the definition of a 500, which unfortunately can't exist anymore with a stupid 17 season, which frustrating beyond belief, especially from a mathematical perspective, but whatever. That's the games we get, and that's the records we get. Again, they're 1-4 in their last 5 games. They came out with a strong 3-0 start. However, during that time, they played England, played Miami, and just dominated them. And they played a Denver team that really hadn't figured it out, and really is going to talk about another topic, which is Bo Nix just being not great whatsoever. They got 3 early wins, and then they met the buzzsaw. But here's the biggest difference, though. Their last 5 games, they're 1-4, but the teams they've played, Buffalo at 6-2, San Francisco, who's now 4-4, the New York Giants at 2-6, and the Detroit Lions, who are 6-2, and have beat them all. So the real question is, what's the true Seattle team? They have 2 wins against winning teams. They're plus 50 in point differential when they win. They are minus 55 in their losses. It is insane. They have a minus 5 point differential. This team is average, but they were masking themselves as a great team early on. And it is true. They are having components work really well. We are seeing spotty but great performances out of their wide receiver core. We are seeing Geno Smith continually play good football. However, seeing the downfall. This is a team that could make a playoff push if they got it together. However, they're a team that's also trying to fight themselves. Makes no sense. And Mike McDonald clearly doesn't have the program in place yet to make this team as good as it could be. It is not the sum of its parts. It's just a bunch of parts. That's why I gotta say Seattle. Also, you're wearing a mask. 1-4 in your last 5 games, giving you a 500 record right now. It's not good enough to say you're a great team. You need to figure it out. And finally, the last component of the mask game we're going to be playing, we're going to be talking about October's NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, or Rookie of the Month, I should say. And that was Bo Nix. For those that are watching the games, Bo Nix does not look like an Offensive Rookie of the Year or Month candidate. I keep saying Rookie of the Year because it's kind of dumb to say, but Bo Nix is clearly not as advertised. Let's go through this. September, they were 2-2, and they played real teams with a combined record of 16-16. However, one of those teams was the New York Jets at 2-6. In which case, they played a team that was 4-4, 6-2, 4-4. The winning teams or 500 teams. Tampa, I think we could all argue, could be a winning team if they had less injury concern. But in those games, they went 2-2, and Bo Nix was not abysmal, but damn close. In October, here are the opponents that they've played and they've gone 3-1 against. Las Vegas, 2-6. Los Angeles Chargers, 4-3. The only loss in that was to the winning team. 2-6 New Orleans Saints, and a 1-7 Carolina Panther team. That is a combined record of 9-22. So we can see Bo Nix feasts against the weak, struggles with the strong once again. In their one loss during that time frame was the lowest completion percentage, which was 57.6%. He did have 2 touchdown passes with an INT and an 84.9 passer rating. 216. You might say, well, that's not bad. It's good, making strides. Okay, you're correct. The worst game in that stretch is against the New Orleans Saints with a 61.5% completion percentage, 164 yards, 0 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, and a 79. This is a rookie quarterback in a Sean Payton system that is shown to be erratic and can take care of bad teams and can't take care of good teams. It's not a recipe for success. It's a recipe for mediocrity. And to claim that he could be this offensive rookie of the month, we're still seeing Jaden Daniels far superior in his play. We're still seeing Caleb Williams far superior in his play. Last week withstanding, but yet still came up with his long-standing touchdown drive to hopefully win the game, and they lost on a crazy hill. We're still seeing other players come through and be more. The strength of the Denver team is their defense, not their offense. And Bo Nix is not the catalyst to their offense either. So that's the biggest issue that you see. That's why I'm going to say mask wearer right now is Bo Nix. Now, maybe he gets it together. Who knows? Right now, Bo Nix is also a mask wearer. He's feasting against bad teams. When he plays better teams, he doesn't succeed very much. But that is our game for today's show. And now we're going to go into our game picks. We're having a shorter show this week simply because it's Halloween time and everyone wants to enjoy themselves. So we're going to go right into Thursday Night Football. The Houston Texans at the New York Jets. The Jets are favored by 2. I do not understand that one whatsoever. I will be taking Houston in this game. I know they just lost Stephon Diggs. I understand that. But the Jets suck. That's the easiest way to say it. And frankly, I know everyone's saying, well, maybe. Last week, I already put the nail in the coffin. I said, if they lose to New England, it's over. It's done with. I believe that full-heartedly, and I don't think they're talented enough to beat a Houston team. Frankly, I don't think their offense can beat a Houston. That's simple. Houston in that one, even though it's a home game for the Jets on Halloween. Weird things could happen. I'm not saying I'd be surprised if the Jets won. I don't see it happening because I think Houston's a hell of a lot better than they are. Dallas at Atlanta, -3 for Atlanta. I will be taking Atlanta in this one. Atlanta seems to be right. Kirk Cousins is starting to put up a few points now, starting to see the field. And let's face it, Dallas sucks on defense, and Dallas isn't really good on offense. I could easily see this being one of those bullshit games in which Dak puts up a bunch of garbage time scores and points and says, oh, well, see, it was a lot closer. I see them as a team that's going to be stat-heavy offensively at the end of games because they're behind and no one gives a shit anymore. Denver at Buffalo. Buffalo favored at 5.5. I think Buffalo, even though we just talked about them in the mass segment as being not that great, they're playing a winning team in Denver. I still think they're a hell of a lot more talented than Denver. 5.5 points might be a stretch just because I don't trust the consistency of the Buffalo offense yet, but nonetheless, still, I'm going to pick them over Denver, Buffalo on that. Mind you, I forgot to say this, as I do every week. Last week, we went 10-6, so the record currently in the season is 76-46. So we're doing okay. All right? So, trust my picks. New Orleans at Carolina. New Orleans is favored by 7. I will be taking New Orleans in this one, but I don't like it. This is one of those games I wish I just didn't have to pick. I'm just going to pick New Orleans mostly because the rest of their team's more talented, but the quarterback position's a mess right now. Their offensive line's still a mess, but so is Carolina's entire team. And they just traded away Deontay Johnson as well, so one of the spots to make you have a little hope in Carolina is now gone as well. New Orleans, I wouldn't be surprised if Carolina won this game to get 2 wins, but I just don't trust either team whatsoever. I'll pick New Orleans. Las Vegas at Cincinnati. Cincinnati is favored by 7. That is an obvious take of Cincinnati. Now, Cincinnati has more problems than people give credit for. They're 3-5. I've been negative on this team pretty much all year, especially with my boy Brandon and his take that Joe Burrow is overrated, which I agree with as well. However, I think Vegas already showed their belly, and by trading away Devontae Adams, not having any consistency, this isn't a team that I'm like, oh, of course. They can take it. They can win. I don't trust that whatsoever. I'll take Cincinnati. Wouldn't touch the points. but this tends to be one of those times that Cincinnati beasts, so the points aren't crazy. Los Angeles Chargers going to Cleveland. Chargers are favored by 1.5. I will be taking the Chargers here. Cleveland looked a hell of a lot better, and they looked like a team with hope with Jameis Winston. That's great. However, this was also could this just be the bump for 1 week to buoy your team? I think Cleveland's a more talented team overall than the Chargers. I just think the Chargers have it together more. Again, it's a pick'em game. I'll pick the Chargers because I trust their football character a little bit more than I do Cleveland's right now, but I think it's going to be close and fun. Washington -4 at the Giants. I'm going to take Washington in this one. Last week we did the exercise of seasons being dead. Giants are dead. They're done. I know they just beat Seattle 2 weeks ago. I know they were competitive against Pittsburgh, but just can't stop shooting themselves in the foot. I think it's time for Daniel Jones to go. Washington's going to win this one. New England at Tennessee. Tennessee is favored by 3.5. That's wild. I think that's more of a reflection that people think Drake isn't going to play. I don't want to pick either of these teams. I don't trust either of these teams. I don't like either of these teams. I'm going to go with Tennessee simply because. Chicago at Arizona. Arizona's favored by 1.5. I don't necessarily understand that. I think it's just mostly can't trust Arizona to just die. Like every time you think they're going to die, they keep going. I'll take. Oh, God. I don't like it. Another game I don't want to pick. I'll pick Arizona. So I like Kyler Murray and their offensive consistency more than I like Chicago's offense. Plus, you're starting to see a few cracks in the Chicago defense. Jacksonville at Philadelphia. Philadelphia's favored at 7.5. It pains me to say it because I think America's a better country when the Philadelphia Eagles lose. However, policy still stands. Can't trust the Jacksonville Jaguars. Simply put, Philadelphia will win, and I think they'll take care of this one pretty easily. All right, Detroit favored at 3.5. Going to Green Bay. Green Bay, I think, can make this a competitive one. My heart tells me Green Bay. My head tells me Detroit. I think right now, with some of the injuries, I also am concerned with Jair Alexander. I'll go Detroit, but I could easily see this being a game that could be a little bit wild and Green Bay taking it. Simply because I think Detroit also has a little bit of that feast on the week portion. Now, I'm just going to do this as well because you have to when you talk about Green Bay. Sunday in Green Bay, it is supposed to be a high of 52, and it's supposed to be raining all day, which does not bode well for an indoor team like the Detroit Lions, but they're a much tougher indoor team than people traditionally would see an indoor team as well. So that could play into Jared Goff, because Jared Goff's been playing relatively flawless football. However, when impacted, that's when the Detroit Lions lose, and I think weather could be a factor in that, but I'm still going to take Detroit. Again, I'm an honesty broker. In terms of quality of play right now, I think Detroit's a little bit better than Green Bay. I still like Green Bay in the long run more than Detroit, beyond just my avid love for the Green Bay Packers. But nonetheless, right now, I think LA Rams going to Seattle. The Rams are favored by 1.5. I would take that as well. I'll go with the Rams on that one. Again, Seattle 1-4 in their last 5 games, starting to collapse. Geno Smith just can't do everything alone, and their defense is ferocious at times. Just can't get it together. Now, Puka Nakua's back. Cup's back. That offense looks good in Los Angeles, and that's a wide open division right now with San Francisco still not great. Arizona's still the leader there at 4-4. The Rams could make a run. It'd be crazy because I said they're near dead, or they're dead. They could make a run in that division, which is insane to say right after a week where we played funeral procession last week's show. Indianapolis at Minnesota. Minnesota's favored by 5.5. I will take Minnesota. I just don't think their defense can really play well against a Justin Jefferson team. Their running back situation in Minnesota is still not great because it's still spotty with Aaron Jones. But you saw still the firepower is there for Minnesota, and they're going to put up points, and Indianapolis just doesn't put up a whole heck of a lot of points. Joe Flacco being in the lineup could help a lot, but see if that's really going to be the catalyst to put Indianapolis over the. And finally, Monday Night Football, Tampa Bay going to Kansas City. Kansas City's favored by 8.5 points. I don't like that money line whatsoever. Baker Mayfield always makes it interesting. They put up 26 points with no Mike Evans or Chris Godwin last week. And I know Atlanta's defense is not as good as City's, but it's not such a drop-off that you're like, there's no comparable whatsoever. However, last week you're starting to see Mahomes getting a little bit more involved in the passing game. Travis Kelce getting a little more involved in the passing game. Not those crazy mistakes that we've been seeing from Patrick Mahomes as much. I know there was a pick there, but nonetheless, it's the sleeping giant of Kansas City. I will be taking Kansas City in this game. I would avoid the money line because I don't trust the money line. That is all of our picks. Again, we're 76-46 on the year. Good betting exercise. Let's see how we're going to do this week's picks as well. But more importantly than anything, that is the end of our show. So you need to go enjoy Halloween. Enjoy your wonderful weekend going into this getting colder fall for the majority of the country. Just enjoy yourself. Enjoy the company that you had. Go watch a good movie. Go trick-or-treating with your kids. Whatever it's going to be making you happy for this holiday season. Go do that. Have a great day. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. Goodbye!